I put over 20 actual gameplay hours on Hulk in the last week alone in preparation for this video, and I gotta say, it reminded me that playing Hulk in Marvel Rivals is one of the most involved and dynamic experiences that you can have in this game. He's a 4-star difficulty hero, and for good reason. A really good Hulk on the high end of the skill gap has the potential to derail entire teams, which is why in almost every comp lobby I play, Hulk is banned from the beginning. People fear the big green rage monster in a way that they don't fear other heroes in this game. So in this video, I'm going to talk about why that's the case, and also unpack how you can play Hulk so well that people will be furious that you are in their game at all. And I'm actually going to, at times today, tell you something that's completely opposite to what other Hulk guides are saying, because I think they're crazy and haven't spent enough time actually playing Hulk, especially in higher tier lobbies, and I think that they're giving you bad advice that will get you killed and will minimize your overall impact on matches. So let's dive in. Quick side note before we get started, I just wanted to say thank you to the thousands of you who have decided to become new subscribers to the channel since I started posting my Rivals guides and hero tutorials. Your support and viewership helps me feed my kids and pay my mortgage, and for that I'm eternally grateful. If you haven't subscribed yet and you think my content is at least somewhat decent, then consider gently tapping that subscribe button, but be kind to it. It's been through so much with all these other YouTubers encouraging you to slap it every day. Sometimes a gentle touch will get you farther. Alright, let's talk Hulk. As always, I prefer not to spend too much time just listing out abilities for heroes, as anyone can just hold F1 and read all these abilities off in game. So I will quickly breeze over these, but then we'll spend the majority of the video talking about applying these abilities in the most optimal ways possible. Okay? Hulk has an incredible leap where he can charge it up. This is his primary way of traversing the battlefield. He can hold the jump button to cling to walls and then wait in ambush for unsuspecting prey and then launch off of them. This leap will also take flyers out of the sky if you collide with them. There's an especially juicy clip in here where I get a kill. I then launch into the air, take down a Doctor Strange and beat him to a pulp, and then immediately launch up into the air again and collide with a diving Captain America and absolutely lay him out. Next, Hulk has a clap called the Gamma Burst, launches a gamma projectile that does big damage and overpenetrates targets. He has a gamma shield called Indestructible Guard that he can apply to himself and any allies within a 5-meter radius of him. When it takes damage, it helps charge his ultimate faster, but unlike Magneto's bubble shield, it can be popped if it takes 250 damage, while the shields he applies to allies only have 100 hit points. Hulk also has the ability called Radioactive Lockdown that launches a gamma projectile that stuns enemies on hit and basically removes them from play for a few seconds. They can't be damaged, they can't do damage, they can't be CC'd, they just kind of sit there. Alright, let's quickly move on to application. We'll chat about Bruce Banner at the end of this video. I want to spend the majority of our time talking about how to use these abilities correctly. Let's start with the core gameplay loop for Hulk. Hulk is a dive tank, okay? He's not really a tank that's meant to just stand in front of the team, pushing the payload forward, soaking up all the incoming damage like a giant meat shield. Hulk, unlike several other tanks, cannot heal himself, and he cannot give himself temporary health. So other divers like Thor and Venom, Captain America, they all get to generate health through combat, which helps them stay in the fight longer and secure kills before they extract for healing. Hulk gets no such luxury, and this is one of the primary reasons why he's not an easy tank to play right out of the gate. As a dive tank, he's going to jump into the back line and remove some healers or duelists who are vulnerable, maybe out of position, maybe out of place, and then get out. But how can he consistently do that if he can't heal or earn temporary hit points? That's where his abilities come into play. The first thing we need to talk about is the leap. Okay, it's your bread and butter. Here's what I suggest you do. Go into your settings, select Bruce Banner specifically, go to your hero settings, and then toggle off the setting, hold to activate Incredible Leap. This will make his jump a toggle instead of a hold. So what I do is I tap spacebar to start charging the leap as soon as I land. This means that I'm doing what I'm doing, just going around punching stuff, and the leap is just charging up on its own. That way, whenever I want to launch away, I just tap the button once and I go flying, right? There are pros and cons to this, but I think the pros dramatically outweigh the cons. Having it ready and charged up means that you can easily avoid things like Jeff ults or similar attacks that happen fast. Tap it and you're out. Conversely though, it also means that if you find yourself in a situation where you just want to jump a little bit or maybe half a leap away, you're instead going to go flying. But you can mitigate that by spinning in the air, and this will shorten the distance that you travel, so it's not a big deal. So I definitely recommend setting your leap to toggle so you don't have to constantly be holding down the space bar or whatever your jump button is mapped to on your controller, probably your X or A button. So using the leap to rapidly insert yourself into a fight and then rapidly pull yourself out of a fight is massive. This is your bread and butter. Mastering just moving around freely is a big part of playing Hulk well. The next thing we need to talk about is the ability that I believe is the most important part of Hulk's kit. It's the thing that separates an okay Hulk from an extremely scary Hulk. It's the lockdown. So Hulk's ability to stun an enemy and remove them from the fight temporarily is huge. This needs to be a staple part of your Hulk game. And it's extremely versatile. There's no one specific way to use it. There are a ton of applications, and this is one of the reasons I'm disappointed in some of the other Hulk guides I've seen, is their approach to this stun is very oversimplified. Being a good Hulk means knowing all the applications and using it properly given your context. So let's provide lots of context here where you can use it. Let's say you dive into the fight and there's a healer and a tank. What you want to do is immediately use your lockdown to stun the tank, okay? Most Hulks I see just immediately pop their gamma shield to protect themselves, and then they just start punching either the tank or the healer. That's a bad move. You don't want to do that in that situation. Lock down the tank, then go full aggro on the healer and save your gamma shield. You want to take the healer off the board, so we sideline the tank, we beat the healer to a pulp, and then don't go fight the tank, then we fly the heck out of there. So I'm going to be real with you, Hulk's job is not to duel tanks. There are occasions where it's necessary, yes. When you team up with your allies to bring down a tank, sure. Or when the healers are nowhere near the tank, yeah, sure. Or to get a dive tank off of your back line, punch them a few times, make them feel like they're in danger, and then they get out. But Hulk doesn't take down tanks quickly at all. That's not really his primary job. That's the job of your duelist. Hulk can knock them down, he can interrupt their ultimates, like Penny's for example. He can stun them, give your duelist time to converge on them and gang up on them the second they come out of the stun. But he's not a tank dueler. So use your lockdown ability to stun tanks. They're the easiest ones to hit anyways because they're big, and you can focus on the more vulnerable enemies first. Let's say you dive at the back line and it's just you and two enemy healers. So go ahead and lock down the one that does the biggest chunk healing. So I'd lock down maybe the Cloak and Dagger and then focus on the Mantis or the Luna Snow really fast, while the other one is off the table. Another way to use your stun is to counter tank busters. I will very, very liberally use my lockdown ability on Wolverines, for example. Here's a clip where Wolverine pushes me. So I pop my Gamma Shield really fast, specifically against a Wolverine, because I don't want him to use his lunge where he carries me and pins me to the ground and get in some free hits. So what I do instead is I pop my Gamma Shield so he can't do that first. I get in a couple of free hits, and then I immediately stun him, and I pull out. He can't chase because he's locked down for a few seconds. Now he needs to reset. And then it's 5 seconds later, guys, I end up finding him pushing a teammate of mine. So I end up pinning him in the corner with that teammate. I lunge over to that teammate. I put the shield on both of us so he can't use his abilities on us. He can't pin us. And then we beat him to a pulp while body blocking his escape. And that's definitely something I want to mention real fast. When you stun an enemy with your lockdown, sometimes it's best to don't just immediately start punching them, because it's just, I mean, what was the point of stunning them at all? So what I do is I'll stun them and then I'll reposition so that I'm blocking their escape. That way, when I start hitting them again, they have to sort of awkwardly try to maneuver around me, a towering slab of meat, in order to get away. Don't underestimate Hulk's ability to pin people in with his body, right? Another quick tip, divers like Spider-Man, Iron Fist, they can be a huge nuisance to your backline and to your healers. So another one of the best ways to use your lockdown is to hit a Spider-Man or an Iron Fist so they can't move. Then give everyone the chance to group up and then wail on them together so they go down easily. Their maneuverability is their lifeline. So when we sideline that and we take that away, there goes their lifeline. They're vulnerable. They go down super, super easy. And lastly, when it comes to the lockdown, I want to mention ultimates. Your lockdown is a huge part of neutralizing enemy ults. You'll see a lot of it in this video. I do it to a Penny, that's, you know, several seconds where she's losing out on her ultimate as she can't use her ult. And the clock is still ticking for her. She's just sidelined during it. Do it to a Spider-Man and he can't use his ult at all. Some ults are immune to CC, like Thor going up in the air or Magneto sucking the projectile up, so definitely know who not to waste it on. But many ults can be shut down with the stun, even other Hulks in their ults. And that's what takes me to the next ability I want to unpack, the Indestructible Guard, or more commonly referred to as the Gamma Shield. The first thing I want to talk about is neutralizing enemy ults with this shield while we're on the topic anyway. So you can use the Gamma Shield to protect your allies against most enemy ultimates. I use it a lot, like here, where I hear a Magneto ult, and so I lunge back to my team where they're actually all pulled into a Groot ult, and they're trying to do a combo here where the Groot pulls everybody in and then the Magneto drops the bomb on their heads. So I lunge back to my team that's stuck in the Groot ult, and I beat the bomb there, and I put that Gamma Shield up on all of them really fast, so they survive both the Groot and the Magneto ults. That's a third of the enemy's ults immediately neutralized with the push of one single button. But I use this against Spider-Man ults, I use this against Storm ults. Here, you can see that I hear, "Feel the wrath of the goddess!" And so I quickly look for a friendly healer on the point because I know that's who Storm's going to target, that's what they do. I wait for the floor to light up. Sure enough, I picked the right healer, and as soon as she spawns there, I'm going to toss that Gamma Shield on my teammate. Not only does my teammate survive the Storm ult, but Storm doesn't like that I did that to her. So she foolishly comes after me where there's a low ceiling, and I'm able to stun her with the lockdown and then easily beat her to a pulp. I also use the Gamma Shield to protect my team from Doctor Strange's Eye of Agamotto, as you can see here. So I know most Hulk guides out there are going to tell you, dive into the back line, immediately pop your Gamma Shield on yourself and start punching stuff, you know, punch someone 2 times and then lunge back to your team. Like, one of the most viewed Hulk guides out there right now literally says to do that, but honestly, what good, if any, did you do? That Gamma Shield is popped and gone, sometimes in under a single second. So you're going to tell me that you helped your team by jumping in and punching someone twice and jumping out? At best, you gave them a 2-second window where their healer just looked at you and then went back to healing, right? So let me propose some alternative uses for the shield. One thing that's important to remember is that you get ultimate energy whenever you use your Gamma Shield and it takes damage. So wouldn't it be a waste if your primary use of that shield was just to shield yourself on a quick dive and then jump back out? You're going to get very minimal returns on your investment there. There are definitely times where you're going to need to shield yourself. But listen to me, you shouldn't be diving into unwinnable fights anyway. You should be diving into fights where you can maybe stun one person and kill the other one without using your shield unless you absolutely have to. But you have 800 hit points. Who are you diving on that you need to shield yourself immediately? I think it's actually better if you dive the back line, stun someone, get a kill on a squishier enemy, and then lunge back to your team, and then that's when you apply the shield to as many teammates as possible while you get some heals from your healer. Look how much faster my ult is charging when I apply it to more teammates. It's night and day. This is also going to mean that you've got the Gamma Shield cooled down and ready to go for the big moments when it's needed, like when enemy players drop their ultimates on your team. You can negate the whole ult with the push of a single button. So I would strongly encourage you to disregard what many other guides are telling you when they say, dive the back line, pop the Gamma Shield, do as much damage as you can, and then jump back out. That is extremely reductive. It's oversimplified. It's minimal. It's a minimalistic use of the Gamma Shield if that's your primary way of using it. I started out using it like that because that's what everyone was saying, and I was confused when my performance, honestly, wasn't all that great. Sure, I wasn't dying a lot, but I also wasn't getting nearly as many kills as I wanted, and I wasn't doing nearly as much damage as I wanted. That's because my whole approach was off. Hulk doesn't just punch stuff and run away. Hulk smashes, okay? He beats enemies to a pulp and lunges into the next fight. So you need to pick your targets better, and you need to pick your timing better so that you're launching yourself into winnable fights and then shielding as many teammates as possible during big brawls to help turn the tide of an entire fight, an entire encounter, to wipe the enemy team, give your team the edge, and give yourself a nice big push on the objective point. Now let's talk about taking down flyers. This is a quick portion of the video because it's pretty simple. If they're within reach, you charge up the lunge, you give it a shot. Worst case scenario, you miss them by a little, and you still get to punch them once or twice as you're flying past them. Best case, you tackle them, you bring them to the ground. But let's say they're flying too high. No problem. You also have a lockdown ability, remember? So what I like to do is leap into their space, get as close as possible, and then hit them with the lockdown to send them falling back down to earth where I can beat them to a pulp. Flyers don't have a lot of hit points, so it's usually pretty short work for a Hulk to destroy them once you get them on the ground. But make sure you're using the Gamma Burst clap ability for a big chunk of damage. Now, speaking of the Gamma Burst, let's chat about that real quick. I encourage you to use this ability pretty liberally. It over-penetrates targets, so it's good in choke points, but it's also great against healers. So I like to lead with it by going in and going primary punch, and then clap, and then back into the primary punch. But if it's an enemy with some mobility, you can just go full primary punch, bam, 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 until they get out of reach. And just when they think there's hope that the big bad Hulk can't hurt them anymore, that's when you give them the clap from behind to finish them off. It's kind of disrespectful, but altogether satisfying. Now we're going to talk about Hulk's ultimate ability. When activated, Hulk will turn into an even bigger, meaner Hulk. He hits harder, he has more health, he has no cooldown on his clap, but worth noting, he can't use his Gamma Shield anymore while he's in his alt form. So you have to be careful here. Here's the thing, Hulk is huge in his ultimate, and many people will make the mistake of popping it when it's just them in the middle of the enemy team. They have this idea in their head that they're going to be big mean Hulk, they're going to wipe the whole enemy team out, but what ends up happening is they get focused down so fast, they don't have a chance to get a single kill before the enemy deflates them back into just regular old Bruce Banner. That's mistake number one that people make with the Hulk ult. There are two more mistakes I want to hit real quick. The next mistake is just to spam the clap ability, right? It's strong, don't get me wrong, but enemies will just out-heal the clap, and it's slow if that's all you're doing. And if everyone is far away and all you can do is clap them, then you pop your ult at the wrong time. The third mistake that people make is to immediately use Big Hulk's ultimate move, where he picks up the enemy and slams them around like he does Loki in the first Avengers movie. Here's the thing, the move looks cool, it looks really impressive, but it doesn't do a lot of damage, guys. Not only that, but you can't cancel the animation, so you're stuck in it. And that means that all the other enemies around you are just going to blast you to death while you're doing it. It also takes several seconds to do the whole animation, and you only get 13 seconds in your ult, so it's a massive waste to lead with it. You want to do it as late as possible, preferably in the final second of your ult. That way you get to stay in your big form for several more seconds. And honestly, if you're using your ult properly, sometimes you're not even going to have a need to use this ability at all. You're going to do punches and claps, you're going to get a few kills, and sometimes there's just not going to be anyone left for you to grab and whip around. Nope, no problem. Now that I told you what not to do, let me offer you some tips on what you should be doing in your ult. Your punches land much faster than subsequent claps. So your punches, they also knock enemies up in the air. So I recommend that you punch people, they pop up into the air, and then you hit them with a clap while they're helplessly off the ground. Then you hit them again with another punch. So most enemies will drop lightning fast if you do this. You can go punch, clap, punch, clap. Also make sure that you're charging up your leap during your ultimate. When you activate your ult, your enemies will have a few seconds to back up away from you, so you're most likely going to have to close the gap before you can start punching folks. And so with that in mind, I actually recommend that you activate your ult while your teammates are around if possible, and in corners and tight rooms where the enemy can't just walk away from you. You want them stuck in a corner, you want them stuck in a room with you. That way you can hit as many people as possible with every punch and with every clap. Also, don't target the tanks, okay? I recommend that you use your lockdown stun because you still have that ability while you're in your ult form. Just look at a tank, hit them with a stun real quick, and then spend your entire ultimate focusing on the squishier enemies, punch, clap, and then just before your ult expires, go back to the tank and use your Q ability again to start pummeling them helplessly into the ground. It won't kill them, but it will sideline them again and frustrate them to no end. This is the move, where Hulk tosses them around like a rag doll. It's actually a CC ability, guys. It's not a hard-hitting attack. It's a CC ability. It's about creating even more openings for your teammates. So don't lead with it, end with it. Also, one quick final note about your ult. When you activate Hulk's ultimate, he goes up to full health. So you can leap in your normal form. Start punching some people, doing some normal damage, wait till they're whittling you down and your health is almost completely gone, and then pop your ult to swing the fight back in your favor. And then when you exit the ult and you go back down to normal Hulk size, immediately pop your Gamma Shield and get back into position. Okay, there are just 2 final parts of the video before we wrap up. First is talking about Hulk's biggest weakness, and second is to give some quick Bruce Banner tips. So let me start with the weakness. Hulk's Achilles heel is CC abilities, okay? If the enemy team has a Penny, a Mantis, and a Bucky, you may as well switch off. I mean, you can still play around. You can still play just fine and, be successful in that situation. But anything that disrupts your movement will cancel your leap charge. And many teams know this and will exploit it. They'll use all their CC stuff on you. And Penny's webbing, by the way, that's on a 3-second cooldown, so good luck charging up a full leap after she webs you up the first time. Hulks get absolutely demolished by teams with multiple CC abilities. You lunge in, but then they take away your ability to lunge out. And remember, Hulk can't self-heal, so you're screwed. They can also neutralize your ultimate by tying you up and sleeping you and hooking you, so be aware of that. You're going to have to be a lot more cautious about who you dive and when if the enemy team has a lot of CC abilities on their roster. Okay, finally, let's talk about Bruce. My best advice is don't be Bruce. There's no point in spending a lot of time here. Your only goal is to stop being Bruce if you're Bruce. Use the Gamma Grenade to propel yourself backwards and get out of danger initially. And don't jump and then throw it at your feet. You'll barely go anywhere. Just throw it at your feet and don't jump and hold backwards and you'll go further. Then lob that grenade into the enemy team and arch it up. By the way, like I said, lob it in, because if you just kind of throw it in a straight line, it won't go very far with your puny arms. So otherwise, lead your shots with your gamma ray gun. Lead your shots by a mile, because those projectiles from the gamma ray move about as fast as my one-legged grandma on her way out of a Cracker Barrel after 3 helpings of hash brown casserole. But people love to kill Bruce Banners, so also stay near your teammates. If you back all the way up, they'll see you alone back there, and divers will smell blood in the water, and they will pounce on you, and you'll have no one to help you and save you. Whew, and that's it for the Hulk guide, everyone. I truly hope you found this video insightful and helpful, and hopefully you can get started on mastering Hulk in Marvel Rivals. He is not easy, you guys. It's going to take practice. You're going to have to put in the reps if you want to naturally start making the best choices in every nuanced moment of the game with Hulk. But hopefully this sets you on the right trajectory, and you don't have to learn things the hard way like I did. If you enjoyed this video, would you let me know by leaving a like on it, as that's the best free way to support the content right here on YouTube, and consider subscribing for additional Marvel Rivals content. If you want to share this video, share it with your parents. They'll have no idea what I'm talking about, but they love you, so they'll probably watch it if it's important to you. Be warm and well fed, my friends, and I hope to catch you in the arena. Bye-bye.